whether you fight with a woman might have more to do with you than you might realize. Just like women can be disrespectful to men without realizing it, men can be antagonistic without realizing it. And it's your responsibility to remove every hint of any negative emotion from your communication with women. Let me explain. One way to think about women is that whatever you give them, they will magnify and reflect. That's feminine nature. Give them one tiny little sperm, and 9 months later, they will give you back a whole human being. The idea here is if you give a woman even a hint of irritation, she's going to magnify that into aggravation and reflect it back at you. And before you know it, you're off to the races. In any case, my point is that the genesis of the conflict can often be traced back to some tiny little trace of negative emotion in your tone of voice. At this point, you might be saying to yourself,
"That's some old bullshit."
To this, I would respond that as difficult as it is, it's actually easier to remove every trace of negative emotion from my voice than it is to convince a woman that her emotional response is disproportionate to the situation. That just doesn't work. But that doesn't mean that we men have perfect clarity either. Clarifying our tone helps us take care of our side of the street. And this ultimately requires you to be mindful of your thoughts, as your thoughts are the upstream source of all the other behaviors. As you do this, you will likely come to appreciate that you may be expressing negativity unconsciously and unintentionally, more often than you imagine. In any case, you will likely feel better as you're the one who's actually in direct contact with those negative emotions anyway. Does this mean that you can never disagree with a woman, or correct her when she's wrong, or check her when she's out of bounds? Absolutely not. But might you need to find ways without expressing irritation, contempt, or negative judgment? Absolutely. Now, paradoxically, sometimes men can take this advice too far. Men, what you have to understand is that women pay much more attention to tone than we do. If you take all the emotion out of your voice, what does she hear?
Bueller, Bueller, Bueller.
And this, in turn, may lead to her escalating the situation in a counterproductive attempt to reassure herself that you are still emotionally invested in her. The goal is to imbue your words with like an undifferentiated warmth. And let me tell you, if you have warmth in your voice, she will listen to you.